Hello everyone. Today our topic is Central Civil Services Conduct Rules 1964. So let us know what are conduct rules. The official code of good manners and rules for people working in government jobs are known as conduct rules. Just like a school has rules like no cheating, be on time, dress properly. Like that, to keep things orderly, the government has these rules to make sure its employees remains honest, fair and reliable. So, let us have a brief introduction on these Central Civil Services conduct rules. Okay, um, first point is to be honest. As a central government employee, you cannot take bribes and use your position to help your friends, family to make money or do anything secretly with government cash. And second is you need to do your job well. You must show up on time, do the work assigned to you, and not to be lazy or careless. And third point is you need to stay out of politics. Once you join the government, you should serve the country only, not a political party. You can vote, but you cannot campaign, join political rallies, or help a politician win. And you need to have no side businesses. Like you cannot run a shop, you cannot take another job, or do freelancing work for money on side unless the government says it's okay. And you need to watch your behavior even at home. You represent the government 24 by 7. You cannot get drunk in public or break the law or do things that make government look bad. And the sixth point is you need to keep the secrets. You cannot share private or sensitive government files with outsiders or complain about government policies on the news or social media. So, in short, we can say these are the rules that ensure government workers to behave decently and to treat the public fairly and do not abuse their power. If they break these rules, they can lose their job. Okay. Okay, let us move into the topic Central Civil Services Conduct Rules 1964. This is updated on December 31st, 2014. These are the names of the rules and these are the titles of the rules. Nearly there are 25 rules. So let us see one by one. Rule number 1. Central Civil Services Conduct Rules 1964 and short title, commencement and application. These rules may be called the Central Civil Services Conduct Rules 1964. They shall come into force at once on November 30, 1964. Please note this point. This may be useful for objective examinations. Save as otherwise provided in these rules and subject to the provisions of Indian Foreign Service Conduct and Discipline Rules 1961. Means Indian Foreign Service means a person of or an officer who represent India working in foreign shall have their own rule book. That is Conduct and Discipline Rules 1961. These rules shall apply to every person appointed to a civil service or post, including a civilian in defense service in connection with the affairs of the union. Means these rules, the rules we are studying, is applied to every person appointed to civil service and the post including civilian in defense service means a person working as a clerk or accountant or manager even in military. There also these rules are applied to them also. Okay, provided that nothing in these rules shall apply to government servant who is a railway servant as defined in Section 3 of Indian Railways Act 1899 of 1890. Means the railway servants defined in the Section 3 of Indian Railways Act, these rules are not applied to them. And a person holding a post in railway board, even a person who is working in railway board is also, for them also these rules are not applicable. They have their own rule book, that is Railway Services Conduct Rules. And holding any post under the administrative control of railway board, for these persons also our conduct rules are not applied. They have their own rule book. Okay. A member of All India Services means like IAS, IPS, IFS. Okay. They work on both state and central government. So they have their own rule book. These conduct rules are only for central government employees, but they work both on state and central. So they have their own rule book for All India Services. And a holder of any post in respect of which the President has, by a general or special order, directed that these rules shall not apply. Means the holder of any post, irrespective of its President has. If the President ordered a specific post, that for this post these rules are not applied. If he ordered like that, that post, any person joined in that post, for them these rules will not be applied. Provided further that the rules 4, 6, 7, 12, 14, sub-rule 3 of rule 15, 16, sub-rules 1 to 3 of rule 18, 19, 20, 21 shall not apply to any government servant who draws a pay which does not exceed 500 per mensem and holds a non-gazetted post in any of the following establishments owned or managed by the government, namely the above mentioned rules like 4, 6, 7, 12, and all these rules are not applied to a government servant who receive a pay or a salary of 500 per month. Means at that time, where in 1964 500 is okay, a decent wage. So uh, these rules are formed in 1964, right? So at that time, as 500 is a very as a decent wage, like 20,000 as of now. So they have decided like this, and these holds a non-gazetted post in any of the following establishment. Means Group C or D post, like that, in establishments owned or managed by the government, in namely ports, docks, wharves, jetties, defense installations except trading establishments, public work establishments, irrigation, mines, as defined in clause J of section 2 of Mines Act 1952. This may be useful in the objective examination, so please note down. Factories as defined in clause section 2 of Factories Act 1948. Field units of Central Tractor Organization employing workmen, government by labor laws. So for all these people, these rules are not applied. Provided further that these rules shall apply to any person temporarily transferred to a service or post specified in Clause A of the first provision to whom, but for such transfer, these rules would have otherwise applied. Means a person who is temporarily transferred to railways. For example, we can say railway people have separate rule book, but even though a person who is working in central government employee other than railways is transferred to railway department, He should follow our rule book only, as he has transferred temporarily. Okay? Explanation. For these purposes of second version, expression establishment shall not include any railway establishment or any office mainly concerned with administrative, managerial, supervisory, security or welfare functions. Okay, coming to the rule 2, definitions. In these rules, unless the context otherwise requires, the government means the central government. Government servant means any person appointed by the government to any civil service or post in connection with the affairs of the union and includes a civilian in a defense service. Means a government servant who is working as in any civil service, including a clerk or manager or accountant in defense service. For them also, these rules are applied. Explanation. A government servant whose services are placed at the disposal of a company, corporation, organization, or a local authority by the government shall, for the purpose of these rules, be deemed to be a government servant working under the government, notwithstanding that his salary is drawn from sources other than Consolidated Fund of India. So, every government servant will draw salary from Consolidated Fund of India only. If he draws salary other than the Consolidated Fund of India, he cannot be considered as a government servant. Members of the family. So, who are the members of the family of a government servant? First, wife or husband, as the case may be, of a government servant, whether residing with the government servant or not, but does not include a wife or husband, as the case may be, separated from the government servant by a decree or order of a competent court. The wife or husband comes under the family even though they reside with them or not. And in the case where the both are separated by the court order, they took divorce. So in that case, they does not come, or else even if a wife or husband reside with them or not, they comes under the family. Son or daughter or stepson or stepdaughter of a government servant and wholly dependent on him, but does not include a child or stepchild who is no longer in any way dependent on the government servant or of whose custody the government servant has been deprived by or under any law. The son or daughter or stepson or stepdaughter comes under his family if he is wholly dependent on him. If he earns money more than 9,000 plus dearness allowance, he cannot be considered as, means he cannot comes under the members of this family. And even if he took divorce, if his wife took the custody of the child, son or daughter, then that child or daughter also does not come under his members of the family. And any person related whether by blood or marriage to the government servant or to any government servant's wife or husband and wholly dependent on the government servant, and any other persons like mother, father, unmarried sister, unmarried brother is wholly dependent on them. Those people also comes under his family members. Okay, let us move on to the rule number 3. So these are the general rules every government servant should know. Every government servant shall all times maintain absolute integrity, means being honest, trustworthy, without taking bribes, and not using their official position in any manner of advantage. And to maintain devotion to duty means should not be negligible in working and should not leave office without permission, and do nothing which is unbecoming of a government servant. You should match the dignity in and out of office as a government servant. Fourth point is commit himself to and uphold the supremacy of the constitution and the democratic values. Means you need to be loyal to the constitution of India, not to a specific officer or politician. Okay. Fifth point is to defend and hold the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, public order, decency, and morality. Means, firstly, defend and uphold the supreme sovereignty and integrity of India. Means, you cannot join, fund any anti-national movements, separatist groups or banned organizations. Security of state. You cannot leak any sensitive information or official documents of the government. Public order, decency and morality. Means you cannot give hate speeches, lead unauthorized strikes and protests that disrupt public life. Okay. Sixth point. Maintain high ethical standards and honesty. Means you must declare any situation where your private interests clash with your public duties. For example, if a company bidding for government contract is owned by a close friend, okay, you must rescue yourself from the decision making process at that times. Okay. You need to maintain political neutrality. Means you should not have favorism to any political party. You should be neutral. Eighth point is promote the principles of merit, fairness and impartiality in the discharge of duties. You need to be fair and you need to be impartial. Should not show any partiality in the discharge of duties. Ninth point is to maintain accountability and transparency. So, to maintain accountability and transparency only, we have the RTI Act, which is Right to Information Act 2005. So, in that, we will come where there we can discuss briefly about this accountability and transparency. 10th point is to maintain responsiveness to the public, particularly to the weaker section. To maintain responsiveness. Maintain courtesy and good behavior with the public. Should show good behavior with public. Take decisions solely in public interest and use or cause to use public resources efficiently, effectively and economically. If you have the power to take your own decisions, you can take your decisions without depending on your senior officer, and use or cause to public resources efficiently, effectively and economically. You should use the public resources efficiently, like 100% efficient, effectively, economically, the cheaper way. Declare any private interests relating to his public duties and take steps to resolve any conflicts in a way that protects the public interest. For example, we can say if you are a part of committee, you need to decide the government contract and your brother-in-law company is bidding for it, you must officially declare conflict of interest and step away from the decision. Private life cannot conflict or intersect with your public duties. Okay. 14th point. Not place himself under any financial or other obligations to any individual or organization which may influence him in performance of his official duties. Means you cannot accept expensive gifts, loans, or lavish hospitality from the contractors or businessmen or organizations with whom you have official official contact with. 15th point is not misuse his position as a civil servant and cannot take decisions in order to derive financial or material benefits for himself, his family, or his friends. You should not misuse your position for the benefits of your family or friends. Make choices, decisions, and make recommendations on merit alone. Take decisions only based on the merit, not in favoritism. Okay. Act with fairness and impartiality and not discriminate against anyone, particularly the poor and the underprivileged sections of the society. You should not show discrimination against anyone as poor people gets benefits as a lag influence. Okay. 18th point. Refrain from doing anything which is or may be contrary to any law, rules, regulations, and established practices. Means you cannot do anything illegal that violates established laws, regulations. Okay? And maintain discipline in the discharge of his duties and be liable to implement the lawful orders duly communicated to him. You should legally bound to obey the lawful orders of your superiors. The note is you are not required to follow any order that tells you to break the law. Okay. Maintain confidentiality in the performance of his official duties as required by any laws for the time being in force, particularly with regard to information disclosure of which may prejudicially affect the sovereignty, integrity of India, security of state, strategic, scientific, economic interests of the state, friendly relation with foreign countries or lead to incitement of an offense or illegal or unlawful gain to any person. Means you are strictly forbidden from leaking official secrets and you need to be confidential. Okay. 21st point. Perform and discharge his duties with the highest degree of professionalism and dedication to the best of his abilities. Means you are expected to be competent, means to have the skills and qualification and have updated on rules of department and dedicate your best abilities to the public service. Okay. Coming to the point 2 in rule number 3. This defines the relationship between superiors and subordinates. Okay. Every government servant holding a supervisory post shall take all possible steps to ensure the integrity and devotion to duty of all government servants for the time being under his control and authority. Means if you hold a supervisory post like section officer or under secretary director, you are legally responsible for the behavior of your staff. Okay. Point number 2. No government shall in performance of his official duties or in the exercise of powers conferred on him act otherwise than in his best judgment, except when he is acting under the direction of his official superior. Means, for example, when you process a file and make a decision, you must use your own mind and honest judgment. Only exception is when you are explicitly following a direct order from your official boss. Until unless you have to use your own mind and honest judgment in processing a file. Okay. The direction of the official superior shall ordinarily be in writing. Oral direction to the subordinate should be avoided as far as possible. Where the issue of oral direction becomes unavoidable, the official superior shall confirm it in writing immediately thereafter. Means no oral direction, written order is needed. This is one of the important points. The fourth point is a government servant who has received oral direction from his official superior shall seek a confirmation of the same in writing as early as possible, whereupon it shall be the duty of the official superior to confirm the direction in writing. If in any emergency an oral direction is given, you should ask for confirmation in writing or written order. Okay. Explanation 1. A government servant who habitually fails to perform the task assigned to him within the time set for the purpose with the quality of performance expected to him shall be deemed to be lacking in devotion to duty within the meaning the cause 2 of subrule 1 means who habitually fails to come on time or work properly can initiate disciplinary action against him. So, you should come on time and work properly. You should not habitually fail to perform the task. Explanation 2 is nothing in clause 2 of subrule 2 shall be constructed as empowering a government servant to evade his responsibilities by seeking instructions from or approval of a superior officer or authority when such instructions are not necessary under the scheme of distribution of powers and responsibilities. Means if you have the power to decide anything, you need not ask the superior for approval. You can do on your own. Okay. Let us go into the in rule 3a promptness and courtesy. No government servant shall, in performance of his official duties, act in discourteous manner. Means no abuse or humiliation to public or to the own colleagues. So you should not behave in discourteous manner. In his official dealings with the public or otherwise adopt dilatory tactics or willfully cause delays in disposal of the work assigned to him. Dilatory tactics means creating unnecessary hurdles or willfully cause delays. So you should not do like that in disposal of work assigned to him. Observance of government policies. Every government servant shall at all times act in accordance with the government policies regarding the age of marriage, preservation of environment, protection of wildlife, and cultural heritage. So you should act in accordance with all these given and observe the government policies regarding the prevention of crime against women, and also you should act in accordance with regarding the prevention of crime against women. 3C is prohibition of sexual harassment of working women. This is one of the most important rule in these conduct rules. No government servant shall indulge in any act of sexual harassment of any woman at any workplace. Okay. You should not involve, no person, no government servant should involve in any sexual harassment of women act. Every government servant who is in charge of workplace shall take appropriate steps to prevent sexual harassment to any woman at the workplace. So every government servant should be responsible in taking appropriate steps to prevent sexual harassment to any woman in the workplace. Explanation 1. For the purpose of this rule, sexual harassment includes any one of the following acts or behavior, whether directly or by implication, namely physical contact and advances. Means you should not ask for any physical contact and advances from any other government servant. Demand or request for sexual favors. As a government servant, you should not demand or request for sexual favors or making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. The following circumstances. Among other circumstances, if it occurs or is present in relation or to be connected with any act or behavior of sexual harassment may amount to sexual harassment. So the following points also comes under sexual harassment. Implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in employment. Any government servant should not approach a woman in giving favor of promotion or detrimental treatment or implied or explicit threat about her present or future employment status. Means should not make her threat as she will be transferred to remote location or giving bad performance or firing her, like that a person cannot do for a woman colleague. Interference with her work or creating an intimidating or offensive or hostile work environment for her. Means as a government servant you should not interfere with her work or create an intimidating hostile work environment. Means continuous staring, inappropriate jokes or commenting on appearances, like that. If a government servant cannot make her uncomfortable. Humiliating treatment likely to affect her health or safety. Means psychological stress or anxiety which affects her health. So workplace includes any department, organization, undertaking, establishment, enterprise, institution, office, branch or unit which is established, owned or controlled wholly or substantially financed by funds provided directly or indirectly by the central government. Hospitals or nursing homes, these all comes under workplace, and any sports institute, stadium, sports complex or competition or games venue, whether residential or not used for training, sports or other activities relating thereto, and any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer for undertaking such journey, a dwelling place or a house. These all comes under a workplace. And one important point is every department must have an internal complaints committee headed by a senior woman officer in accordance with the sexual harassment of women. And if an inquiry by the internal complaints committee finds government servant guilty of violating rule 3C, it is treated as major misconduct and results in severe penalties, including compulsory retirement or dismissal from government service. So, please make note of all this. This is the most important topic.